What's up, everybody? GeauxBurns breaking down the E3 trailer for Mafia 3. And I realized that I said that I wasn't going to because I believed it was kind of redundant since I already broke down the E3 teaser trailer. But by request from several of you who asked me, I'm going to go ahead and break down the Mafia 3 E3 trailer. But what we're going to do is we're not going to include anything that was in the teaser trailer. At least I'm going to try not to include that stuff. So some of that is in the trailer, but we're not going over it because it's already been gone over in the teaser trailer. And if you want to check out that video, it is up in the top right hand corner in the Mafia playlist, which you can find all the Mafia information I cover, including the postcards, the new Bordeaux Tribune, etc. By the way, Mafia 3 coming October 7th to Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC. Now, the first image is some sort of hearing, which takes place several years after the events of Mafia 3. And I remember this being mentioned in an interview that there would be cutscenes of this hearing, and it would have like an old VHS, like 80s quality video to it, which looks kind of scratchy, of this interview that's taking place obviously on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. And of course you see probably several senators, including the chairman of this hearing. Behind him you have an image at the top with Sal Marcano. Under him, 3 of his capos, and then 3 more underneath them. Apparently, I can't see the others that are below those top 3, but the one on the left is obviously a woman. And one thing that was mentioned in the comment section by Vashon is the question as to why would a female be in a mafia criminal organization, because, you know, by their code it's a male, or it's a fraternity. Only males are allowed to be, you know, the Godfather, capos, lieutenants, street thugs, etc. So we'll talk a little bit more about her in just a moment. In the middle, just above this chairman's head, I believe that's Sal Marcano's brother, Lou Marcano, which we showed a lot of in yesterday's video regarding the gameplay that was featured in Mafia 3 during E3. So that's also in my Mafia playlist. And of course, to the right, I think that's Sal Marcano's son, Giordano Marcano. I believe I pronounced that correctly. So that's those 3. I don't know who the guy below Giordano is. Probably another capo or lieutenant. But anyways, let's move on. So the hearing is having, I guess they're interrogating the CIA agent who's also friends with Lincoln Clay. And this guy is very important because apparently he served along with Lincoln in Vietnam, and he's also in the CIA, or at least he used to be in 1968. And he actually is helping Lincoln Clay behind the scenes because he has like access to some prototype technology, like the earpiece that you've probably seen Lincoln Clay wearing several times throughout the videos that have been featured over the past few days for Mafia 3, and some other things as well. And of course, they're basically asking him, did you help Lincoln Clay kill Sal Marcano and several members of the Marcano crime family? And this guy's response is, you're goddamn right I did. So he saw Lincoln Clay as a vigilante, as somebody who was out for justice. Unfortunately, a kind of justice you couldn't exactly get in a courtroom. So for whatever rhyme or reason, he chose to help his friend Lincoln Clay out. So let's move on to the next image. Is, of course, one that I've seen in several recent trailers regarding E3. Now, this is Sammy Robinson, who was the head of the Black Mob in New Bordeaux. Obviously, he was murdered along with everybody else by the Marcano crime family. And I'm curious about this because you see the fire behind him. And in a previous trailer, it was pretty obvious that he had been killed by Sal Marcano while crawling on the floor before the Marcano crime family set fire to the bar, leaving Lincoln Clay for dead. So what I'm curious about is this an image, a vision that Lincoln Clay is having regarding Sammy? And that was something somebody else brought up in the comment section of one of the videos, was the possibility that Lincoln Clay might be actually having flashbacks regarding Sammy. And this might be the first instance of him having some sort of vision of Sammy staring down at him as the fires are blazing around his bar. And obviously Sammy is actually dead, but you know, this could be kind of a ghost or some sort of spirit or conscience that's driving Lincoln Clay to avenge Sammy Ellis and the Black Mob, who have been murdered by Sal Marcano. Next, of course, is, I think, an image that was probably side by side where Lincoln Clay is laying, left for dead by the Marcano crime family on the ground, obviously shot by Giordano, Sal's son. They believe he's dead or dying, and they think he's simply going to go up with the rest of the bar and the rest of the Black Mob. And this could be where he looks up and sees, an image of Sammy Robinson looking down on him. And then, of course, he gets rescued eventually by Father James. And Father James takes him into, hiding down in the bayou, I believe, at an abandoned church, and basically prays for him and nurses him back to health. Now, I think this takes place over several weeks or months. And obviously, you have Father James reading the Bible, praying for him, tending to him, making sure that, Lincoln Clay is going to somehow survive what happened at the bar. Now, it's obviously not Father James's, intention for Lincoln to avenge the deaths of Sammy and the Black Mob, but at the same time, Father James sees this as a life that God spared, and he wants to do his part to make sure that Lincoln survives. So anyways, I believe this image is probably one of the first things that Lincoln Clay sees when he wakes up, is an image of fellow soldiers still in Vietnam, fighting and dying for basically a lost cause. And you guys see the chopper flying overhead, soldiers. So that's what I think this image is here of this TV in 1968. The first thing that Lincoln Clay actually sees when he wakes up. And maybe while he's in a coma, possibly he's having flashbacks of what he was doing in Vietnam. So maybe we'll get to experience that as well. Very similar to the first chapter in Mafia II, where we got to join Vito during the campaign he was part of to liberate Sicily, because he was also in World War I. He was a soldier as well, just like Lincoln is. So maybe we'll get to do that as well in Mafia 3. The next image is, of course, Lincoln Clay recovering from his injuries out of the coma, walking down to this basement. Now, I thought about the basement. It could be an abandoned building in a warehouse or something that happened, something that Lincoln stumbled across. But another theory that I'm going to put out there that could be completely wrong is the very real possibility that this is the basement beneath what's left of Sammy's bar. The bar itself at the top was destroyed, but maybe, just maybe, the basement somehow survived the destruction by the Sal Marcano crime family. So Lincoln walks in here, and I think this is the place where you're going to see Lincoln hang out and do his sit-downs with Vito, Burke, and Cassandra. And it's obviously abandoned. And once again, I don't know if this is beneath what's left of Sammy's bar or another building entirely. I guess we'll find out eventually. And then, of course, here's something else that's interesting. This image, I believe it's an image of Sammy Robinson once again. Because it looks like, if you look at Lincoln's look, he doesn't look like he just returned from Vietnam and, Robinson's happy to have him back and happy-go-lucky. It looks like, that Lincoln is battle damaged, hardened, and maybe, just maybe, Lincoln's sitting somewhere in this room or in this, wherever this is, and he's having another vision of Sammy Robinson telling him things, going over like, oh, watch out for this guy or that guy, and maybe somehow his spirit is leading Lincoln Clay on his quest for vengeance. At least Lincoln believes that it's Sammy Robinson's spirit or conscience, whatever. It's Katra, if you will. Being all nerded out with Star Trek, right? So that's what I think. I don't think this is a flashback scene. I could be wrong about that. I've been wrong before. But I think this is going to happen, when Lincoln Clay is going throughout the story, trying to bring down the Sal Marcano crime family. And throughout the way, he's going to see visions of Sammy Robinson. Let me know below in the comment section, what do you think about that theory? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Feel free and chime in. All right, so the next image is back in the basement where Lincoln Clay still has his beard. His hair's kind of grown out from several months in a coma. And, there's a little bit of stuff down here. He finds his old combat knife from Vietnam, which is going to be a very important weapon for Lincoln Clay throughout the story of Mafia 3. And one thing Stag did point out, and I know Stag mentioned this, was the fact that, in the scene we talked about where they were on the ferry and they were blown off the ferry, and as, Lou was, trying to escape from Lincoln, Lincoln gets up from being knocked out and he pulls out his combat knife, very similar to how Rambo does. And I did make a comparison between John Rambo and Lincoln Clay in my Lincoln Clay backstory video several weeks ago. So yeah, I think that there's a similarity there between Lincoln Clay and John Rambo, and that's probably done intentionally by Hangar 13 because they were both Vietnam War vets and they're both very skilled soldiers. All right, so another image of Lincoln Clay in the basement here, whether it's beneath Sammy's bar or somewhere else entirely. And then an image, of course, of his CIA friend. He's monitoring somebody, listening. And in the background, you see an image of a priest. So I think he's actually helping Lincoln Clay here. I don't think he's working for the CIA. This may be off the books, off the job, because it looks like he might be back at Father James's place, while he's doing this for Lincoln Clay. Because Lincoln Clay is going to be running around with that, that earpiece on, that prototype. Plus, Lincoln Clay is going to have the ability to bug places. So maybe his CIA friend, I think his name's Donovan, I could be wrong about that, is out there, helping him try to bring down the Marcano crime family. Or he could be listening to Cassandra, who is having a Bible study, I guess, which is kind of interesting because in some of the artwork, she's called the Voodoo Queen. So how can you, be into voodoo and be waving around the Bible at the same time? I think there probably is a little bit of, I don't know, something going on there. Maybe, she's very open-minded about her beliefs, that on one hand she believes some stuff out of the Bible, but when push comes to shove, she's not afraid to put some voodoo on your ass. Okay, so anyways, she's, going on about the Bible. Then, of course, another scene back in the basement with this lantern, a shadow of Lincoln. And, of course, you see this image where it looks like he's about to start, cleaning himself up, cut his hair down, get rid of the beard, and get himself back into fighting form as he prepares for his war against Sal Marcano. And of course, as you can tell, he has his combat knife. He's going in, cutting his hair, all hardcore style. Personally, I would have just gone to a barber, but that's just me. And then, of course, an image of this church out in the bayou. Now, here's another possibility, that this is where Lincoln Clay is hiding. There could be a basement down at the bottom of this abandoned church. And Lincoln could be there, Father James could be there, and this could also be where Donovan is, doing his work for Lincoln as well. But that's just another theory, an interesting, thought, because this could turn out to be his base of operations, at least at the beginning. Maybe he'll get some other safe houses as well in New Bordeaux. Okay, so here's a really cool shot of Lincoln Clay driving around probably the French ward in New Bordeaux, or downtown New Bordeaux, and this really awesome muscle car. I just put it up because I thought it was really cool looking. Night on the town in New Bordeaux. Everyone's carrying out their business, driving around, going off to party in the French ward, have a good time. But Lincoln Clay, he's on a mission. Then, of course, here's an image of a discussion that Lincoln Clay was having with Burke. Burke was actually surprised to see Lincoln alive. He thought Lincoln died in the fire at Sammy's. So apparently, Burke and Lincoln Clay actually have some history between him and Lincoln. So it's going to be interesting to see that backstory between Lincoln Clay and Burke play out throughout the game. Then, of course, something I did not even cover, and that was by accident in the teaser trailer breakdown I meant to, was cage fighting. Apparently, you're going to be able to do cage fighting in Mafia 3. And I don't know if this is going to be mandated by a story campaign, or if this is going to be a different way you can make some money in Mafia 3, or if it's going to be a way to build up your stats if you have to build up your stats, get stronger, stealthier, etc. So it's interesting that this is one thing that you'll be able to do in the game, whether it's just a one-time thing or it's just something Lincoln Clay can go do as a side quest to make some extra cash on the side. And at the same time, beat the crap out of some foes. All right, so here's an interesting image of Cassandra. Obviously, she's gotten into a scuffle. The mystery is, who did she get into a scuffle with? Was it with Lincoln? Was it with somebody else? Did Lincoln save her? And Lincoln's basically telling her it's over. And as she's crying, all torn up and beaten up by either him or somebody else, I think somebody else. I don't think Lincoln Clay would do that. I think her response to him saying that it's over, she says it's never over. So I think somebody came after Cassandra, and Lincoln came in, the night of shining tinfoil, and saved her. But, she was obviously roughed up a little bit by somebody. Maybe it was Marcano goons. Maybe it was the Southern Union. I guess once again we will find out when Mafia 3 comes out in October. Then here, I believe this is the cistern, I believe, the one of the locations you can take over in Mafia 3 and give over to either Vito, Cassandra, or Burke whenever you're having your various sit-downs. Then, of course, I keep forgetting who this guy's name is. Is it Donnie or is it Tommy? I get freaking confused by that. It's one of those two names, either Tommy or Donnie. Either or, right? So anyways, he's about to take a nice little trip to the dentist with, Dr. Vito. Dr. Scaletta, your patient is ready. So he's going to remove some cavities, do some root canal work on Donnie or Tommy or whatever the hell his name is. Obviously, one of Sal Marcano's lieutenants. I don't know if he's as high of ranking as a capo. But anyways, he's about to be on the wrong side of Vito. By the way, I want to apologize for something while we're sitting here staring at, Vito, practicing his dentist skills. I apologize to everybody who I criticized for that image that came out in the One Way Road trailer that I did not believe was Vito. I was wrong. Liberal Atheist was right. The rest of you were right. Okay? The issue was that image of Vito did not have his trademark scar. Now I realize it's kind of dark in here, but you can kind of see the scar outlined a little bit in this image. But in that image, he did not have the scar, so I automatically assumed, because it was such a short scene, that it had to be a friend of Vito's or an associate of Vito's or one of his lieutenants. I was wrong, but at the same time, shame on Hangar 13th for screwing that scene up, because Vito should have had his trademark scar. All right, now that that's out of the way, hopefully no one else will ask for an apology. Please don't unsubscribe or throw me to the gators for that faux pas. All right, so here's a really cool image of some fire behind Lincoln. You see him in the shadows with that badass looking 1911 45 he has. And of course you see in, I believe it's his left ear, you see, this cord coming out. That's that prototype, headset I was telling you about, one of the several devices that he has access to thanks to his CIA friend. I think this is just a really cool shot. That's why I included it. Then of course you have Giordano Marcano, discussing, Lincoln Clay, because they found out, him and Sal, that Lincoln Clay survived the fire of Sammy's. And Giordano is the one who shot Lincoln. But his father, Sal, a little pissed at his son because he only shot him one time. That's what he's really mad about, because you only shot him one time, son. You should have shot him a few times, because obviously you didn't kill him, you dumbass. All right, and here is this woman again that we talked about at the beginning of the breakdown trailer. So as Vishon pointed out, you cannot have a female member of a mafia crime organization because it's a fraternity. I mean, it's sexist. I agree. That's just the way it is. I mean, the Godfather, the capos, the lieutenants, all the way down, they all have to be male. So obviously this woman is very important to the Marcano crime family. Obviously, she looks like she's kind of a psychopath. She's kind of crazy because she's got this blood on her hands, quite literally. So she must have a scary certain set of skills that, is very appealing to Sal Marcano, enough to give her a special place. Not as a capo, but she has her own position within the crime family. Not official, but whatever she does, and I'm sure she has, abilities to make people talk. Maybe whenever he needs somebody tortured, this is the girl he sends them off to. So obviously, she's going to be a very important member of Sal's organization, even though she's not officially a capo or a lieutenant because of, obvious reasons. It sucks. I'm pro-equality, but that's just the way it is. But that's just something interesting that Vishon brought up regarding Psycho Girl here with her bloody hand. Okay, so here's another faction that we found out about at E3, the racist white supremacist group known as the Southern Union. And as someone who doesn't like any kind of racist, whether you're a white supremacist, black supremacist, etc., I don't like them. And hopefully we'll be able to take down the Southern Union, or at least have fun murderizing a few of them, because they're going to play a role, at least down in the bayou, because they have connections with the Marcano crime family. So they're going to be doing like the gun running, the moonshining, and in order to take down that territory and hand it over to Vito, Cassandra, or Burke, Lincoln is going to have to deal with the Southern Union. And I have no qualms about that, to be honest. All right, so next image is at one of the brothels. And it looks like, I think that's Lincoln walking in on one of the lieutenants he's supposed to take out. And this is probably one of the lieutenants under Lou Marcano, because Lou Marcano's kind of over the sex thing in the French ward. So he's walking in while one of the lieutenants is having a good time, apparently, with a nice topless dancer. And his good time is about to turn really, really bad. And here's a really good image of Vito Scaletta with his scar, looking older. And so there's a difference, as we've pointed out a few times, between the way that Lincoln, he doesn't look like Lincoln. I don't know why I said that. There's a difference between how Vito looks now than how he looked in the reveal trailer. And I've gone over that a few times. In the reveal trailer, he had gray hair. And the truth is, he looked more like Vito did in Mafia 2. But for whatever rhyme or reason, Hangar 13 decided to change up Vito's look. And maybe that's because they wanted Vito to look rougher and realized the pure gray hair was maybe a little too much, because he's only in his 40s, you know. He's not in his 50s or 60s. But at the same time, people get gray hair at different ages in life. He has a little bit of gray, but still mostly black hair. And he does look a lot rougher than he did in Mafia 2, because obviously he probably hasn't had a very good time, you know, since the end of Mafia 2 over the past 17, 18 years. And the next image, of course, is Lincoln Clay with his trusty sniper rifle on a pale moon night, you know, about to kill somebody, right? Probably a lieutenant of Sal Marcano's, or else he's just out for target practice. Maybe he's deer hunting in the middle of the city. I doubt it. Okay, and here's another cool scene. I don't know if this is tied into that previous scene of Lincoln Clay with his sniper rifle, or if this is just an opposite scene of some explosions from a different mission, and Lincoln Clay is driving off in this 4x4, or maybe, you know, these are the people he's pursuing. I honestly don't know, but it's still kind of a cool scene. And of course, here is, I think this is Donnie or Tommy. I think, I could be wrong about that. Or it could be another guy that they've captured and they plan on interrogating, doing some dental work too. But I think this is the same guy we saw earlier, who also appeared in the Mafia 3 reveal trailer. So he's going to get a little bit of dental work done thanks to Dr. Scaletta. Personally, I prefer a professional like my sister. She's a dentist, and I'd rather go to her than Dr. Vito. Okay, so here's one of the capos that has been featured in several trailers already. And I realize we've already gone on over 20 minutes, so obviously this is probably a good idea to go over this trailer for E3. So thank you for everybody that told me to do a breakdown of this trailer, because I didn't think I would go over it this long. So this is one of the capos for Sal Marcano, and you can see how things are going to end for him. A nice dive out the window. Splat. All right, so anyways, the very final scene we'll show ties into the very final scene in the teaser trailer where Lincoln Clay is walking out of this room or this empty bar, and you see who he killed. Now, this is either Lieutenant of Sal Marcano, a capo, or somebody else that's important to the Sal Marcano crime family. And there you go. That is my trailer breakdown for Mafia E3. And I'm sorry it took a couple days for me to finally get around doing it. Like I said, originally I wasn't going to, because I felt like it was kind of redundant. But I was wrong, because I spent nearly 23 minutes, or a little over 23 minutes, discussing it. So let me know your thoughts below in the comment section regarding the Mafia 3 E3 trailer. Does it make you more excited for Mafia 3? Does it make you less excited? Were there some things that I missed? Probably so. Feel free and let me know. By the way, Mafia 3 is coming October 7th to Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC.